Hello YouTube, this is Asatsu 5 and this is kind of a show and tell type video. Only one of these knives do I own, but I wanted to show the other two knives as well and kind of touch up on a subject that has been brought up on my channel. Apparently there was a rumor going around that I don't like stag handles. This is an old, because of an old video I made over the, silver stag 10-inch Bowie. And it's not that I don't like stag. I really do enjoy stag and like stag. It's just that if you don't match the stag to the knife, or if you don't shape it in such a way that it fits the hand, then I have an issue with that. But you know, I've had a lot of people kind of comment on that video saying, oh, you know, stag has all these benefits and all that stuff. And I agree, stag has a lot of benefits to knife handles and ergonomics and so on and so forth, and aesthetics. But when you make a knife and you have to hang on to the knife handle like that, you know, it's big, it's unwieldy, can't say the word. You can't wield it very well. It's not quite a beautiful knife. You know, silver stags, they're not the prettiest knives in the world. They're not exactly ugly, but they're kind of thrown together. And my problem isn't so much with stag as it is with silver stag, the company. But anyways, I own one of these knives, and this knife is the Roberta's picnic knife. And I think they did a good job on the stag. It's beautiful. I love how it looks. I love the dark colors to it. The only issue I have with this knife is really with the blade, which I'll talk about in a separate video in the review. But these two knives were handed over to me by my co-worker who wanted me to sharpen them. And I've told my co-workers this several times, I suck at sharpening knives. I usually have to be coached by my brother. You know, I can use the sharp maker. But if it has to be reprofiled, which at least one of these has to be reprofiled, I usually have to get my brother to do it. But these knives are interesting in my opinion, and they're stag handled knives I feel are done well, or done the right way. And keep in mind, these are not necessarily shaped antlers. They didn't shape these antler or these stag handles to the human hand. They just matched them. And simply by looking at this piece of stag and saying, okay, is this going to fit the hand, it makes a world of difference on the quality of knife that you're getting. Now this one is my least favorite. By the way, these are both handmade knives, so not production, but you can kind of tell with this kind of stubby clip, and it has some firework on it, and it has an undefined ricasso, no choil, but you know what? It feels good in the hand. It feels like if you're going to skin a large animal, that this knife will fit the hand and be comfortable to use for that whole entire skinning or gutting process. So I think that even though I don't really care for the blade profile, I do like this knife's ergonomics. It feels good. It feels right in the hand, either hand, and it kind of just fills it up real nice. And I feel that you could use this for hours on end without being fatigued. It has a tooled leather sheath. Don't really care for the sheath that much. It's not bad, but there's very few tooled leather that I like. I like my leather to be kind of untooled. I like exotic leathers. I like for the beauty of the natural leather to stand out. But I'm going to treat this with some oven knife, see if I can soften it up a little bit and return it back to its owner. And so I'm going to do that with this knife, and I'm having a problem clipping it. This knife is probably my favorite out of the two. Interesting little story behind this knife. is that this particular knife, the guy bought both of these knives in Alaska by two different people in two different areas of Alaska. But when he pulled this knife out, another coworker was like, "Hey, I know the guy who made that knife." And he goes in his truck, pulls out a leather scabbard with two knives in it. It's a double knife scabbard, and one of them was this exact knife but with a double quillion guard on it. And he said, "Yeah, a guy in Arkansas makes them, and he died about 2 years ago for cancer." And he started talking about the guy and how he really liked his knives. And in my personal opinion, I really like this knife. Kind of has a roach belly look to it, and you have a trailing point with a very acute tip. And so again, this stag, you can see it has kind of a curve to it this way. It feels good in the right hand, but I think it kind of benefits the left hand a little bit better. Has some spikes that could probably irritate you a little bit, and that are not on the right hand side, but it feels relatively good in both hands. It just feels the contouring seems to fit the left hand a little bit better. But I like the roach belly blade shape. If you're going to be a muzzle loading reenactor, or a mountain man reenactor, a colonial Revolutionary War reenactor, I think this would be a good knife to have, to use it as your patch knife or as your hunting knife or eating knife. It's very versatile knife design. I mean, you can skin with it. Kind of has that scalping knife look to it. This fits several different categories in my opinion. And if you had to use it in a violent situation, it will get the job done. It's a very traditional blade shape, and this is by far my favorite out of the knives he owns. And when I first saw this, I was thinking to myself, is that a silver stag knife? And I was like, no, it's made too well to be a silver stag. It has the spacers, has a little bit more redefined or refined guard on it. It did have some jeweling on it. I don't know if you can see the jeweling. But I went on Silver Stag, tried to find it. I didn't find it on that website. So I'm led to believe that this is a handmade knife, possibly from Arkansas. And it has some engraving right there. I can't really read it that well. But I couldn't find any website that sold this knife. So I'm just going to go ahead and assume the guy that made it died. And in my opinion, I like this sheath more than the other one. It has kind of a rustic look to it. It's sewn together with leather straps. I'm not too big of a fan of the retention system, which there's nothing wrong with it. It does do its job, but it's not, to me, something that you can access very quickly. I'd rather have a different sheath style or scabbard style than this one, but it looks good. And if you're going to be a reenactor, or if you're going to hunt and you want the rustic look to it, I think this is a good one to have. So yes, stag has many benefits when it comes to cutlery. I agree with that. It's just you have to do it right. You don't necessarily have to shape the stag to fit the knife, but you have to match it. You have to match it where it fits the human hand, and that's where I think Silver Stag falls short on. So that's it. I'm a Satsu 5, and I'm out.